shit, huh? Here we are, folks. Another podcast. Welcome to another podcast that's out there. You gotta do them. This is my attempt at I'm not much of a podcaster, admittedly. And the reason why is because I don't have anything to talk about. I don't have shit to say. And the reason why I don't have anything to say is because I'm an idiot. I'm adult. I don't know anything about fucking anything. So I never thought that I could have a podcast, but I had an idea recently for an episode of a short podcast, and that's what this is going to be. I have no plans for future episodes. I would love to do future episodes. I would love to have a podcast, get a podcast going. People make their life out of a podcast. But I don't know, man. I am an inarticulate, opinionless dope. So here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to. I had this idea for what I think might be a kind of interesting thing to talk about, and I'll talk about that for 20 minutes. 20 minutes. And if there's future episodes, I think those will be about 20 minutes. It's going to be a short podcast. I'm not going to do like an hour podcast. And I only have one mic. I bought a mic on Amazon. It was like $40. And it's nice. It's got a little like pop filter. And a little stand. So I'm just sitting right now on my couch. And I'm just recording in it. So I committed. I invested financially in this. I'm down to make a podcast. But if this is the only thing I ever put out, don't get mad at me. I'm thinking about a few names. Flanecdotes was my first idea. I think that's kind of funny. But I think that when you read it, people are going to think it's about like dessert. If you saw Flanecdotes on like iTunes or something. So right now I'm leaning towards calling it Laser Show, which I think sounds awesome. I originally wanted to call my sketch group Dead Kevin Laser Show. That was my first suggestion and my first dream. It got shot down. And we went with Dead Kevin. And the rest was history. There is no history. We failed. But I ended up calling they let me, the guys from my sketch group were on my flag football team. They let me call the flag football team Laser Show. That was my consolation. And that was nice. I really appreciated that. But here's my chance to name a podcast. I'm going to call it Laser Show, and that's my the leader so far. So if anyone has any ideas, or art for like a logo, send me some art for a logo. And if I decide to call it something else, I'm going to re-record this last 2 minutes. So this is my podcast. What I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about an issue that I've been having for a while. I thought it might be kind of interesting, I guess. And maybe people will feel seen. And people will maybe be able to relate to it and wanna reach out and talk about it, because it's an odd thing. But I wanted to talk about sleep paralysis. I struggle with sleep paralysis pretty badly and have for probably since high school. And I thought I could talk about and it's a very common thing that I've learned, since talking to people about it. A lot of people go through it and reading about it and stuff. So my understanding of sleep paralysis is essentially this, and this could be completely wrong. This is just one thing I read. I don't know if it's a theory or if it's proven or what, but something that I read one time is that sleep paralysis is essentially your brain, when you're sleeping, your brain gets stuck in the transition between non-REM to REM sleep. Your brain gets caught in the transition. That's one thing I read. Feel free to reach out and contact me if that's completely wrong. So essentially what sleep paralysis does to most people is they have some sort of, they're going to sleep, they're in bed or taking a nap, sleeping in some way, and they are kind of, I guess, jolted away. I think for most people, they are kind of asleep and they are woken up into this state of physical paralysis where they are awake, they have consciousness for the most part, but they can't move. They're not conscious enough to be able to move, if that makes sense. They go to sleep normally, and then they wake up into this unfamiliar, scary realm. And it is scary. It's scary to wake up into something like that, something that this world where you literally can't move. So they're caught in this state against their will. And anyone who's ever had it will tell you it fucking blows. If this has happened to you, you know this blows. And it's really scary. And a lot of people, from what I've read and heard, a lot of people will experience like demons. They'll see or hear demonic spirits in the room with them, which I think is just this subconscious fear thing when you can't move. I guess the scariest thing would probably be a fucking demon. A demon. I would say a demon is certainly at the. I would say a demon is at the bottom of the list of things I would want in my room at any point. Number one thing, hot babe. Hot babe with big juicy tits. Got to be number one. Disco balls up there. Things I want in my room. Maybe a masseuse. Maybe a masseuse with big juicy tits. But you go all the way down to the bottom of that list. Yeah, a demon is certainly down there. A demonic spirit is certainly near the bottom. Right down there with bed bugs. A bomb. And then probably demonic spirit. What I'm saying is sleep paralysis, it sucks. It's no good. There's monsters and shit in there. For me, what happens is, and I've heard a lot of different versions, different takes. People experience sleep paralysis in a lot of different ways. What happens, I think I have kind of an extreme case. Because I've never heard of anyone having an experience exactly like I have. And please reach out if you do, if this has ever happened to anyone. So I've had sleep paralysis pretty regularly, at least once a month, since probably high school. And sometimes, a few times a week. A lot of times, multiple times a night. A lot of times, sleep paralysis will pick a night and just torture you for that whole night, and that sucks. For me, it used to be scarier because it is a kind of out of your control, weird experience. I'm kind of going to bed, and all of a sudden I know I'm in my bed and I can't move. And for me, I can move a little bit. Therein lies the rub. A lot of people can't move at all. And people that I've talked to say they are completely paralyzed. And what do you do when you're in this purgatory of consciousness where to go up is to be awake and to go down is to be asleep? You would think, well, why don't you just go to sleep? And the most recent person I've spoken to about this says that that's what they do. They just relax and go back to sleep. They just let their paralyzed body lay there and let their mind drift into the unconscious, which is a safe space. I love the unconscious. I go there every night. I've gone there every night my whole life. Except for a couple wild nights. You know what I'm talking about? Boys. Remember those nights, boys? Didn't get no sleep. But 99.9% of the nights in my life, I have gone into the unconscious. But yet, when I am experiencing sleep paralysis and stuck between conscious and unconscious, I am terrified of falling back asleep. The idea of the unconscious world and the transition into it is kind of like dying to me when I'm in that state. That's kind of my That's my mindset when I'm in that zone. I'm scared. I'm too scared. I'm unreasonably scared to just go to sleep. What it is, but I could just relax my body and just go back to sleep. Drinking some water. In theory, that's what you should do. If you've never had it, that's probably what you think you would do. Well, if I can't move and I'm in bed, I should just go to sleep. Get back into that dream I was having. Pick up where I left off. See if I can't fix things in that dream. See if I can't really punch that guy that my arm couldn't move, but I wanted to punch this guy. Maybe I can get back in there. Suck it to him. But me, I can't do that. It scares the hell out of me, and I don't know why. And you know what's fucked up is I'll be in there and I know that I'm scared and I know it's ridiculous to be scared. I have a self-awareness of how lame it is to be scared to go back to sleep. And I can't move and I'm in my bed. And part of me is going, you're so tired, you can't move. Your body can't function. Go back to sleep. And part of me is like, but it's scary. What if it's really death? What if I see death or the afterlife in the transition? And then I'm like, Ryan, what are you talking about? I'll have the self-awareness to argue with myself. I wonder if you guys can hear that aeroplane going ahead. We'll see how good this mic is. A good mic will pick up my beautiful voice, but not the aeroplane above. That's pretty loud aeroplane. I bet you guys can probably hear the aeroplane, and I'm gonna get some complaints. I don't know. I looked into podcast uploading, and some of these, the website I was gonna use is like, you send us the podcast and we'll like smooth it out and make it sound nice. I'm like, all right. Is that true? I'm so behind the 8 ball on this shit. That'd be tight if they could make this sound like a nice podcast. Because right now I'm just sitting in my living room with my little microphone, high as hell. But I digress. So I get stuck in this. Most people get stuck in this in-between zone, this purgatory. And most people can't move at all. I have some limited movement and vocal ability when I experience sleep paralysis. Most of the time. Actually, every time I have the ability to move a little bit. And when I say move a little bit, I mean I can usually shake my legs back and forth. I rock my legs back and forth, and that rocks my hips. I rock my legs, and it rocks my hips. I rock my legs, it rocks my hips, and then my shoulders get going. And I'm rocking my hips, I'm rocking my shoulders, I'm rocking side to side until I can hopefully rock my head back and forth enough, back and forth, till hopefully I can snap myself awake. That is the goal, and that is I can usually accomplish it. That's what I have to do pretty much every time. I have to rock myself awake, which I guess is really just like being shaken awake by yourself. I got to shake my head. I think the head is the key part of this. If I shake my brain, that seems to wake me up pretty good. So I can rock, and I have a little bit of vocal ability, and I usually yell as loud as I can in the purgatory world. I scream help. I go, help! Help! And what happens in real life, and I learned this, and now I know it, and it's good to know, that comes out as me just going, Isn't that fucking creepy? In my mind, in my little world, I'm going, help! And I can hear myself, and I can feel my mouth move and make the word help. But I had a girlfriend. God, I miss her. But I had a girlfriend that I would sleep in bed with. It was awesome. And she's the only one who's ever seen me have a bout of sleep paralysis. She saw probably 3 or 4 of my bouts, and I told her what was up. I think before it ever happened, I think I must have told her before it ever happened. And I said, hey, if this ever happens, this is what's up. I might start shaking, rocking back and forth in the middle of my sleep, like The Exorcist. And if that happens, wake me up, slap me, wake me up, because I want to be woken up. I don't want to go back down into the sleep world, which I kind of equate to the netherworld, death of some sort. So it happened to me, while I was sleeping in bed with her, I would shake, and then she would wake me up. She'd go, Ryan, Ryan, and wake me up. And I knew what was happening the whole time. I knew that I was shaking, and I was shaking so that my girlfriend would feel it and wake up. I was trying to wake her up, and I wasn't even awake. I'm in this sleep paralysis netherworld, purgatory, trying to shake my shoulders back and forth enough where it wakes her up. And then I try to yell. That's when I yell. I go, help! Help! And she's seeing me rock back and forth and go, and then she would go, Ryan, Ryan, Ryan. And I would wake up and I would go, oh, thank you so much. As soon as my eyes would open, I would say, thank you, thank you. I knew where I was, and I knew where I was now. I knew what world I was in, and I knew what the real world was, and I felt the transition. I felt her wake me up, and I would say, thank you so much. I needed that. Thank you. And I would try to stay up for a while because I was scared to go back to sleep after that for a little while. I would usually try to, whenever this happens to me, I try to stay up for a bit. I'll go on my phone because it's scary. And it's scary to go back to sleep and possibly go back into that weird, paralyzing purgatory. So I do have a little bit of movement. So sleep paralysis is apparently the brain getting caught. This is one, I don't know if it's proven or if it's a theory. I read this once. I'm sitting right in front of my computer, and I could Google it, but this is from what I heard, that it's your brain getting caught between non-REM and REM sleep. And and non-REM to REM sleep, I think we have a bunch of them every night. The REM cycle, I think we're only in REM for like 15 minutes to an hour at a time. Or maybe that's non-REM. I don't know. But we're constantly going back and forth between non-REM, where your eyes aren't moving and your body is recovering and building muscle, and we go into REM sleep, which I think lasts like 15 minutes, and that's when your brain kind of condenses, and what's creepy is your eyes move, but it's not connected to anything. It's not because you're dreaming and looking around in your dreams. Your eyes are just moving because you're like downloading information. Ugh. Can we just sleep? Can a man just sleep without having to download information through closed eyes? Historically, the most common sleep paralyses I've had have been with naps. And it's with light sleeps. It's with light, uncomfortable sleeps, I think, where your body is bad at sleeping, so your brain isn't good at sleeping either, and it just happens. So sleep paralysis happens to me on a lot of flights, on planes, and it's the worst. Because a lot of times I know what's happening. I can feel I'm sitting up straight. I'm not on a bed. At least when I have sleep paralysis, sleeping on a bed, a lot of times I'll think I'm in my childhood bed. There'll be some confusion as to where I am. Usually I don't know exactly where I am, but I'll kind of know what's happening, and I'm not super afraid as I used to be. But a lot of times I'll think I'm in my childhood home, and when I yell help, I'm usually yelling to my mom. I'm usually at the home I grew up in, is where I'm dreaming I am. But a lot of times I know exactly where I am. I know that I'm in a bed. I know I'm in my bed or whatever. It varies. It varies. And I have, I heard things. I will sometimes see creepy things, but but I know that I can control it. I'll see people walk. It feels like your eyes are open. You think your eyes might be open a little bit. You'll see a shadowy figure in a hat come into your room. I can make myself see that when I'm in that kind of state. Sometimes. And I hear creepy sounds. I can hear people talking clearly when there's no one there. Sounds like they're just in the room with me. But a lot of times this happens on planes, and I know exactly what's up because there's no mistaking being the feeling of being sitting on a fucking plane. When I'm in sleep paralysis in the purgatory zone and I'm half awake, half asleep, but I can feel my immobile body, but I know I'm sitting straight up. I'm like, oh shit, dude, I have sleep paralysis on this goddamn plane right now. God damn it. And I can't move, but you know what I can do, folks? I can rock back and forth. And that is the only thing I can do aside from let it go and go back to sleep. Which would be great to sleep on a plane. I never fully sleep on a plane. That'd be ideal to just go back to sleep and sleep. Just sleep on the plane. But when I'm in that state, I'm so scared of going back to sleep. It scares the shit out of me. I just want to be awake. I just want to be awake so bad. It's like getting too high. People that don't like getting too high, and I've been too high. I get to this day sometimes I get too high. But especially at the beginning when I first started smoking weed. And a lot of my friends now that are just starting to smoke weed have the same, yeah, when you get too high, it's scary. All you want is to just not be high. You just so badly want to be able to think and operate normally. So badly. Be like, oh, it would feel so good right now to have control. And it's just like that. I could drift back into sleep and not know what the hell is down there. Nightmares? I don't know. Or I could be awake and know what is happening. I'm on a shitty fucking flight. So sometimes I have to shake myself, rock myself awake on a plane. That's happened to me a couple times. Where I've had to rock back and forth. It's happened. I remember once in the middle seat, and I remember feeling both people's shoulders next to me as I was just rocking back and forth, hitting their shoulders until I was able to rock my head back and forth enough to where I woke up. And I just went, and I woke up like that. Yeah, that must have looked awesome. Man, I must have looked really cool. They must have thought, man, this guy in the middle seat, this guy's doing all right. That's how he wakes up? Yeah, this guy's normal and good. This guy is healthy. And I remember one time having this happen on a plane, and the guy I was rocking back and forth, and the guy next to me, older guy, I could hear him. I could hear him in real life going, "Sir? Sir, are you okay?" And I couldn't open my eyes or my mouth. I couldn't speak. I could just rock back and forth, and it's gotta look crazy. I've never seen it. I imagine it looks awful. Like I'm being possessed. So I rock back and forth, and he's going, "Sir, are you okay, sir?" And I was able to shake myself awake on this plane. And the guy was just looking at me. He was bent over looking at me, like trying to look into my eyes, really concerned. And I was so embarrassed, I didn't say anything. I kind of just stared straight ahead. My heart was racing, and I could feel him looking at me. And his wife was next to him. They looked at each other. He looked back at me, and they kind of just let it go. And I was so embarrassed, I didn't say a thing. And the rest of the flight, once I calmed down, I really wanted to ask that guy, "Hey man, what happened to me? What did I look like? What was I doing?" And man, I let too much time go by. It's weird to do that after like an hour. Be like, "Hey man, do you remember when I kind of was rocking back and forth and I shook myself awake? Do you remember that?" I missed the peanuts. I missed the Delta, what do they call their cookies? What are those Delta cookies? Bischoff. I missed the Bischoff. Hey man, what happened to me back then when I was missing the Bischoff? That guy really missed the Bischoff back there. That's what you say when someone's acting crazy. Guy really missed his Bischoff. That could be the new woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Ooh, somebody missed their bish off. I wonder how this sound is. Fuck, I hope this doesn't suck, man. What if I have to record this whole goddamn thing over? Oh, who gives a shit? So I have limited motion. With my sleep paralysis, and sometimes here's kind of the grand finale of my sleep paralysis. The point that it gets to. Please do reach out if you've ever experienced this. But for the most part, know generally where I am. I know I'm on a bed. Sometimes I think I'm on a different bed, but usually I know I'm on a bed, and I'm having sleep paralysis, and I'm single now, and there's no one there to wake me up. And I try to wake up. I try to rock myself awake. But sometimes I just can't. And it's the most frustrating feeling in the world. Because I'm so close, I can feel my brain almost turning on. But I just can't move. It's a maddeningly frustrating thing. To be able to move some of your body and just not all of it, and you're just trying, and sometimes it just doesn't work, and there's nothing I can do, and I am too scared to go back to sleep, so I have to wake myself up in a more violent way. And what I have to do, and what I just did recently, which inspired me to record this podcast and talk about it, because it's a weird thing that I've done a few times. But there have been at least probably 4 times, including just the other day, where I couldn't wake up from my sleep paralysis, and so I had to use the limited movement and rocking ability that I had to make myself fall off the bed. And you try not to crack your head open. Folks, you try not to crack your fucking head open. But I mean, there is limited motor control here. You are pretty limp going off the bed. And if you're doing really well financially like me, that's a tall bed. Now my bed's fucking short as hell, but I have done this off of a very tall hotel bed, onto a hard floor. It was carpeted, but it was like hard carpet. You know that hard hotel carpet? Barely even carpet. Folks, that is barely even carpet. That's like the rough side of a sponge. Hotel carpet. But what I had to do the other day, and I've done this the other times I think, I've tried at least, is I have to, if I can shimmy my arm, eyes closed. I'm for the most part asleep. And I have to shimmy my arm off the bed first as protection. And I can feel the floor. I can feel the coolness of the floor. I have nice, luxurious hardwood floors here at my place. Dark hardwood, too. You ever seen it? I can feel the floor, and I use that as my guide to hopefully not smack my head on the floor. And then I just roll my body off the bed. Boom! And when I hit the floor, I immediately wake up. And that's just what I need. I need to be hit in the head. Smacked. I need my girlfriend to shake. She had to physically shake me and say, Ryan, I need to be woken up physically like that. And sometimes I can't do it enough on my own. I have to launch off of the bed to the floor and make enough commotion with my body, the bones rattling around in my body, and the noise of me hitting the floor is enough to truly, without fail, jolt me awake. It's never happened that I've done that and then still not woken up. That would suck if I was still stuck in sleep paralysis, just face down on the floor now. Just breathing dust into my mouth. But so far, 100% success rate rolling off the floor. And this past time I did it, rolled off the floor, rolled off the bed, onto the floor, and I woke up immediately. And I was lucky as hell because my bottom drawer was open. My bottom drawer of my dresser. That's my ugly shirts drawer. That's why it's on the bottom. It's shirts that I wear not really when I'm going out with friends. And also undershirts. It's my ugly shirts drawer. It's shirts that I don't really like that much. And if I lost them, that'd be fine. That's what I keep on my bottom drawer. So my bottom drawer was all the way open. This is a Sharp Walmart.com Sharp 5 drawer dresser. And the sharp ass bottom drawer was open. And it's right next to my bed. There is a good chance, there's a 70% chance if I roll off my bed on that side, I am splitting my head open. And then what? A sweet release of death, that's what. God, I wish. But I didn't split my head open. I woke up on the floor, happy to be alive. I laughed. I smiled and I laughed. And I wish to God I hope someday someone sees that happen. Because that's funny if I am okay. The hotel one, I couldn't get my arm out, and it was that tall hotel bed. Those beds you gotta jump into. And I rolled off that. I didn't have time to get my arm out. I went so hard on my head onto that shitty non-carpet. At least it wasn't concrete or linoleum or hardwood. I truly would. All jokes aside, I would have had to go to the hospital if that happened. But that little bit of carpet really saved me. But I remember having a terrible headache the next day. And it physically hurt to touch my head. Ow! Ooh, my forehead. Ah! And people would say, "What's wrong?" I went face first off of the bed last night on purpose. Dream Ryan launched himself off the bed. And I've never heard of anyone having sleep paralysis that's that level, where they have that kind of movement. And if you do, please reach out. And I guess that's it. That's pretty much all. That was it. I guess that's the whole podcast. Thanks for listening to that. If you listen, feel free to reach out if you've been through this or you have anything you want to say or ask. I don't know. I don't know how to end this goddamn thing. I guess I should think of some sort of a sign-off. I'll think of a sign-off for if there's any future episodes. Think of a nice catchphrase. You know I love a catchphrase. Oh, I love a catchphrase. So maybe I'll think of something. I probably shouldn't do that. That kind of ruined my life last time. But thank you for listening to episode 1 of this podcast. See you guys around. Stay safe out there.